a 13-minute 19-second 5k for the blokes and a 14-minute 59-second 5k for the females.
Battle for the line! Eddie, Ronaldo, Ethiopia just taking.
What even is that? Last weekend I got to go to one of the fastest 5 km events on the calendar. I got to run and spectate throughout the day, and I thought, because it was a really unique event, I've never been to anything like that before, I thought I would do a little bit of a video just breaking down the event, what happened and all that stuff, because it was sick. The event is called Podium Festival, and in a nutshell it is a one-day festival of running, so to speak, that consists of 12 5 km races that each gradually get quicker and quicker throughout the day into the night, when the elite men and women are racing. Now, I'm pretty sure they do this event a few times a year in different locations, but the one I went to was at Leicester College, I think it was, and the setup is pretty decent. So it's on a big field situated in the middle of a 1 kilometre cycle track, I think it is. So the races all take place around this cycle track. It's 1 kilometre, so it's 5 laps each, and all the grandstands and the spectators, etc., are spread out throughout this field watching. So what makes this event interesting is it is designed for rapid people, basically. So there is a junior race first off, and then there's the open race, which is the event I ran in, where you don't need a qualifying time to run in. But then after that, the first race starts at sub 18 minutes for the 5k, and it works its way all the way up to the elites at the end. So you get a load of club runners and just really quick dons out there running this race, because it's a super flat course and it's made to get a quick time, basically. There's a lot of people there racing to get PB after their winter training block. And because of that, it attracts athletes from all over the world. It wasn't just domestic athletes there. There was people from continental Europe, even people from Africa. There's a few Kenyans and Ethiopians there. Let me get the list up and I'll read some of the names out and the credentials. People like Will Barnico, Abby Donnelly, Hannah Nuttall, Jake Whiteman, who was the 1500 metre world champ in 2022. Caroline Nyaga, who was the African 10,000 metre champion. Hagos Gadbruet, who is an Olympic medalist, and loads of other credentials as well. Basically what I'm saying is the fields were absolutely stacked. This wasn't just your average park run. So I went with Garmin, who were the official time sponsors of the event, but because it was an event organised by Sports Shoes, they had loads of brand stands from all the major players in the game, so Asics, New Balance, Adidas, Saucony, to name but a few. So I got there, picked up my race bib, had a gander around all the brand stands just to see what the crack was, caught up with some of the people from the brands, and then it was time for the most important race of the day, the open race that I was partaking in. So the funny thing about this was, it is an open race. You don't have to have a qualifying time to take part. So I knew going into it that I was probably going to come towards the back end of the race, but I thought there would be a few people there that were slower than me, basically, so I wouldn't come dead last. That kind of didn't happen, funnily enough. So I went into this race, hadn't tapered. I'm in the middle of my marathon training block. Legs were slightly fatigued, but it was no excuse. I gave it a full gas effort on the day.
How far off the front am I?
Full gas effort on the day. 5 laps of this track, and I finished in a time of 21 minutes. 21 minutes for a 5k, that's the second best 5k of my life. A couple of seconds off my PB, which is good because I was pleased with it, basically. In the middle of a training week, to get a couple of seconds off my PB is a good indicator that my training is working. But the funny thing is, out of 495 blokes who ran that same 5k track as me that day, I came 493rd. So I had the 3rd slowest time of the day, even though I'd just ran the second best 5k of my life. It was humbling. I have to be honest, it was humbling. When I checked my chip time and saw that I was on the back page, 3rd from last, that was, yeah, a humbling experience. But I was kind of expecting something like that, so it is what it is. And it's the taking part that counts, you know. And I said this on my Instagram story. Someone has to make the other people look good. That was my role for the day, to make the other people who were racing after me look good. And I stepped up to the plate and did that exquisitely. So, yeah. So after my race, I got into my media vest. I had access to a media vest, which was pretty cool. Never had that before, so I could go into certain areas that had restricted access just to get better footage and photos and videos of all the athletes that were racing. And I just started spectating the races for the rest of the day, starting at the sub-18, which were like good track runners, and then every half an hour or so there is another event where the time just gets quicker. So I think it was sub-18, sub-17, sub-16, etc., all the way up to the elites. So another thing that made this event pretty cool is it's free to spectate, so you can come from wherever to watch any of the races. There's no payment required, which is a good way to get punters in, which in turn improves the atmosphere of the races. You know what it's like at these road races. The crowd make a massive difference, not only to the people that are actually racing, but just the spectacle itself. When there's screaming and shouting involved, lights and all that sort of stuff, it just makes it more interesting to watch. After a couple of races, about midway through the day, they held a 1 kilometre time trial event, which was mint.
2, 1, go Ella!
So the format of this was every minute someone gets to send it round the 1 kilometre circuit, and the quickest time across the men's and the women's takes home $2,000. So they had it set up where the current quickest person was holding like a $2,000 check. Then the next person would go, and if they won, they would come and take the check off their current winner. If they didn't, they would just go elsewhere. And basically it was like an elimination thing. So by the end of it, the quickest person was holding the $2,000 check, and they got to take that home. There was also prizes for second and third as well. And it was pretty intense actually. There was a load of GB athletes taking part in this one, and the winning times were, just let me get them up. So yeah, the winning time for the blokes that took home the $2,000 was a guy called James Young, who did it in 2 minutes 20 seconds for 1 kilometre. That is rapid. And then it was for the females a Nike athlete called Erin Wallace, who did it in 2:34. Again, just can't fathom running that quick for that long. It's just a joke, some of these people. I saw after some of the efforts that the athletes had given, they were chundering. Proper efforts. Like I just can't imagine going that hard that I actually need to throw up. It's just not in my psyche to do it, but I guess that's why I'm not an elite athlete and they are.
How far off the front am I?
And after the time trial was done, we were now in the territory of like seriously quick people. I think the races after that started from sub 15 and just got quicker and quicker. And the thing that I was most like shocked by is when you see these times on paper, like you see someone is going to run a 14-minute 5K. Obviously I can't fathom that as a runner myself. But then when you actually see it in person, it is ridiculous how fast these people are going. They are going at a pace that I couldn't even hold for like 400 metres. They're sprinting for 5K, and I just don't get how they do it. They make it look pretty easy as well for the most part. A lot of them are like gliding. They've got pristine running technique as well. You know what it's like when you see like a serious runner and they are making ridiculous paces just look like a jog in the park. It's mad. And everyone was crossing the finish line in the pits. You just know they was giving it their all. And I love that shit. It was my first time really experiencing top runners do their thing. And it sounds a bit wanky, but it's impossible not to be inspired when you're watching that sort of stuff, because you know each and every athlete out there has put in so much time, effort and commitment, dedication basically, to get to that point where they're running these like 15-minute 5Ks, because you don't just wake up one day and run a 15-minute 5K. You have to commit years and years of graft to get to that point. And I respect it so much because I know how hard it is to maintain consistency with running for a couple of weeks or months, let alone like a lifetime's worth of commitment, or at least many years to it. We'd watched all the events up to the Elite B races at this point, and then it was time for the Elite A races. Now these were the races that I personally was most looking forward to, just because like I said before, I've never experienced this caliber of race in the flesh. Kicked off with the women's event first, which was at 7 o'clock I think. So by this point the sun had gone down, it was dark, and it was all lit up around the circuit. It looked sick. There was a big crowd to watch and spectate, cheering on. And off the bat, the two African women just broke away like different gravy, that stuff. And the winner took home the victory in 14 minutes and 59 seconds.
Battle for the line! Eddie Ponanga, Ethiopia just taking
14 minutes, 59 seconds in the pissing rain on a wet circuit. Conditions probably couldn't have been worse for the actual people running. Everyone was soaking at this point.
the 1K time trial. through there. We are looking at the man.
The blokes race was probably even more stacked. They had Olympic medalists, ex-world champions, cross-country champions, like ridiculous athletes just going head to head in a 5k on this sick circuit. It was just mint to watch. And the winner took home the victory in 13 minutes and 19 seconds. 13 minutes and 19 seconds in the 5k. That is a 2 minute 49 per kilometre pace. To put that into perspective, that is quicker than I can run a 400 metres in. Aliens. Absolute aliens, a lot of them. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got on the day after that, because it was so wet. I just got back in my car and drove back to Manchester. But such a good day, like massive shout out to Garmin for the invite. I'm definitely going to be attending a few more of these throughout the year, because it was probably one of the best events that I've been to in terms of running. Anyway, I'm going to call it a day at that. Nice one if you watched this far, and I will see you in the next one.